and welcome back once again to the VGN Television Network presenting Christine Timmon, Gangster of the Constitution. Welcome back today. Well, we think that we got a pretty good show for you today. We're going to do a little monologue like we usually do. But today's focus, we're going to focus on the United Nations, which is nothing but an organized racketeering group. Y'all don't know what it is, but just listen to what I tell you. And then we're going to focus on the U.S. Supreme Court, another criminal group of people. You're going to find out as we go along. So let's forget about them for right now, and let's go to Donald Trump. Hey, how do you like that? The lady that he released her from a life sentence for drug dealing. Well, the only thing that this does, this just takes me back to when I told you guys that this is what was happening back in the day, that the women had forgot all about their husband, no marriage, they just became gangsters, all of them. And it was unfortunate. And I told them, hey, one of these days you're going to be sorry you've done this. I explained to all of them this drug thing that they're introducing into our community because no one had ever heard of it. It was in 1968. So that's something wrong with it. And I explained what I thought it was about. I said it was a way for them to find a little small package in a black man's pocket or in the black people, anybody, then they can put you in jail for the rest of your life under laws that they wrote that went with it. See, they had new laws they wrote that went with that because didn't nobody know anything about any drugs. I mean, maybe some of the singers, they might have a reefer or something like that, but I mean widespread just drug use, nobody ever heard of it. So once it got in there, this is the result. Donald Trump got to try to come and get as many of them as he can out of prison because it was all done on purpose by the Democrat Party. I told you people, you never listen. If somebody says something about the Democrats, you're going to scream out. And I wrote that book with this Congressman Dick Chrysler. We wrote a book about what they did to the black community. Technically, when they brought the drugs in, they were shifting the black community to a new culture, a subculture. Welfare, drugs, crime, and prison. That was a new subculture, and they want to keep you in there. Well, unfortunately, they got a little stop in that 25 years ago when the welfare reform came about. You remember I showed you guys the award letter I got from Congress. I'm the one who wrote most of those laws that threw the drug lords out of the country. Wrote just about every one of them. And so now it's come to the time where all of those people who were arrested, and convicted of drug, yeah, they did it, but it was a fact that it was all set up. It was entrapment. But didn't nobody listen? No one would listen. I told them it's entrapment. It's entrapment. And another purpose of it was they had tried to get Ford, GM, and Chrysler out of all the states where they were. They tried to legislate it out, but it was difficult. So you know what they did? They said, we'll find another way. President Johnson had all these connections, with all the drug law. And don't say the Republicans either, because they didn't have any power then. The Democrats ran the whole thing for 40 years. So President Johnson called on his drug lord friends down there, and they started bringing in the drugs. First, they had to come through tunnels, because the people had better sense. And then once he got his thing down pat, well, he started coming up top, because you could still see footage from CNN and Fox News about those tunnels. So after the tunnels were discovered, then they put some more stuff in the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act. The border patrol could only shoot rubber bullets and all that stuff. So they were able just to bring their drugs right on across. And you were scared to say something because of all the new laws. They meant to bring the black community down. They meant to put the black community in that subculture. Welfare, drugs, crime, prostitution, prison, all that kind of stuff. They want to change the entire nature of the black community because the black community was about 90% married. And you better not get caught doing something wrong in the schools. Oh, they had to destroy all of that. And you know what? They did it. Thanks to the help of the black people who were too weak to let the drugs go. And so this is how we came to the situation we're in today, where I think they said Kim Kardashian went up there and talked to Mr. Trump. You know, her husband and Trump get along so well. So I guess she figured, you know, she could go up there and try to help some of the people from the day. So yeah, I forgot her name now. I don't even want to know her name because I had told her that was going to happen. All I knew about Christine Timmon. So let's watch this clip now of one of the really smart African-American women praising and thanking Trump for releasing her. Let's watch and then we'll come back to BGN.
And so what Donald Trump is saying, look, his best answer is, I want to bring jobs. Let me do it for you. Best debate line, Democrats care about the inner city when it's election time. After election time, what do you get? Zero. What was her response? Quiet. Why? Because that is the truth. He told the unadulterated truth. And even though people don't want to hear the truth is bitter, but we have to swallow it. The Democratic Party, I voted for over 20 years of my life. I voted for Barack Obama when he said he was going to bring hope and change. And yes, we can. And no, we didn't. The jobs didn't come. The better schools didn't come. The investment in our communities did not come. National security, our borders are open. We're not safe. We're not safe. And we've got to stop thinking as black and white and purple and Arab. We've got to start thinking as Americans. And that's what Donald Trump is saying. We're Americans, America first.
You have to remember, Donald Trump is the head of Trump Organization. And when you look into that organization, it is filled with blacks, whites, Hispanics, Arabs, Asians. It's different religions, different creeds. And so he's a person that has created jobs. He's a person that signs checks. He's the person that works on the bottom with the person who's doing the foundation as well as the guy sitting in the office. And so all of that, I think, is important when we're thinking about our next president. Our people, the American people, many of them are losing hope, and we need a champion in that office that will provide the jobs, that is looking at school choice, which is a big issue even in the African American community. We need investment in the communities. We have got to stop talking about it in terms of race and start thinking about it and talking about it in terms of America. We need jobs. We need better schools. We need investment in communities. We need that. And that is what he is offering.
We have been devastated. We have been devastated with the lack of jobs, with immigration. We have been run over. Donald Trump is our new future. Donald Trump is our hope. Donald Trump is also bringing us together, regardless of the color of our skin, as American citizens. That's the only way we can get back in order, is if we stand together. This present administration is not working in the favor of American citizens. They're destroying the Constitution. They're tearing this country down. We need somebody that's going to be strong, stand as a man, and help us recognize and put the Constitution and illustrate the Constitution, what it was written for.
Well, how do you like that? Congratulations. With an intelligent black woman like her speaking, and all the young people who are coming away from the Democrats, we may be able to survive in the future and change everything back to normal. It's not going to be easy because they put so many billions of words of lies, not only in the minds of the African Americans, but the white people even dumber, because there's more of them than it is of black people. So they're dumbed down far more than the black community is. And so what we're going to do now that another prediction, one more I told you so. And believe me, I hate it when I have to do these I told you so's. And sometimes I told you so's come way late. Yes, they do. But this time it came and it was beautiful, perfect timing. And so that segues us off here on BGN. Oh, by the way, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can get all of our stuff. Listen, this segues us off into immigration. This is another destruction of the African American community first. Then it's going to seek to go on to bring down the white community. See, what you guys got to understand is the United States itself is not allowed to sponsor non-citizens. That's supposed to be done on the state level by the people and the states under whatever the people write in a referendum to the state how their immigration is going to be ran. But they stopped doing that a long time ago, which I've told you that already. They came up with the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act. We're going to talk about who did it. Right now, we'll find out that later on in the show, who did it. So, they're all up out here screaming and yelling, talking about some DACA. Debbie Stabenow, she's a senator from Michigan. She's a strong supporter of DACA. And DACA, that's something really for the states. And she can't show you Debbie Stabenow and no other congressperson, and that includes Babyface Nelson. That's Paul Ryan. Both of them, Debbie and Paul. Little Debbie. We used to call her Big Debbie, because just the pun off of the cakes, Little Debbie. Oh, God. We had a lot of fun. That was our campaign rhetoric against Debbie Stabenow. We call her Big Debbie. And Paul Ryan, I gave him that name, Babyface Nelson. You want to know who Babyface Nelson was? Google it. He was one of the worst criminals it was, but he was so cute. He was cute, but he was a criminal. Oh, he went down like everybody else. So Paul Ryan, he's the leader of the chair of the House Speaker. He always trying to talk about this stuff that he cannot prove in the Constitution. Either one of them, Babyface Nelson or Big Debbie, if either one of them can show me one clause in the United States Constitution that says that Congress and the United States is supposed to sponsor non-citizens and give them welfare stuff, then I'll shut up. But it's not in there. If I missed it, I wish Big Debbie and Babyface Nelson would send me a copy of what they found in the Constitution that allows them to give non-citizens money. Because in the Constitution, as I've told you guys before, what it says is Article 1, Section 8 prohibits the United States from sponsoring people who are not of the United States. It says they may levy taxes for debts of the nation, defense of the nation, or welfare. It says the general welfare of the United States. That's what it says. It doesn't say, there's no clause that say, the United States and Congress shall have the power to sponsor non-citizens. That's what it would have to have. If it's not written, I think I got a copy of something from Justice Roberts. What it said here. Let's check and see. Oh, it's saying something about if something is not written for the United States, it goes automatically to the states. And it says impermissible interference with state sovereignty is not within the enumerated powers of the national government. An action that exceeds the national government's enumerated powers undermines the sovereign interests of the states. And even worse, it says the principles of limited national powers and state sovereignty are intertwined. What it's saying is the federal government is limited to what they can tell the states. What you see them doing now, they're not supposed to be doing it. And back in the day, can I be really honest, they would have taken out and shot. In the 1700s, they didn't play games. You try to do this, you have a two-minute trial, and then they put the blindfold on you. They used to do that all the time. In the 1800s, it might have been 2-week trial, but you got hung. Then in the 1900s, well, your trial was a little lengthy, but you wound up in electric chair. Something bad happened to you for violating all these powers that belong to the states. And one more, I was concerned. Oh, the Supreme Court held with an unusual unanimity. They held squarely that individual citizens have every right to challenge federal laws on the ground that they exceed the limited and enumerated powers vested in Congress by the Constitution. So therefore, when they give your tax dollars to non-citizen, you supposed to sue them. Don't worry, I already did. I know y'all scared. And just to be honest with you, even the attorneys, they don't know how to do this. I went to law school for 10 years. This is not in there. You have to have this from way, way back in the 50s. 4th, 5th, and 6th grade when it was Mortal Kombat. You go up in American history, civics, and the Constitution, Mortal Kombat. Don't come up in there with no attitude. You look up and somebody from your family will be at the door. And somebody will say, "There you son." And you look over, there's somebody from your family doing like that. And you come out, when you come back in that classroom, you'd be stinging, but you better not cry. That's the way it was. They made us learn all this stuff. We had to learn, at least it was about 26 congressional laws we had to know. And we had to know the first 16 amendments. They say that's how you stop the feds from encroaching on your rights. You know, like Amendment number 4, illegal search and seizure and all that. But see, y'all don't know that stuff the way we had to know it. You know, so immigration is the worst thing next to drugs that ever happened to black people. And y'all running around out here trying to help them. Can't y'all see? You know, this is what makes me mad. When you can't even see. Obama didn't do anything for black people of no kind. Just simply didn't do it. He brought everybody he could. He had train loads of Mexican men. It was just men. A train load of Mexican men. 3 months later, they all had new cars and stuff. Nobody went to prison. He set up all that DACA stuff where they get all of your money. Then he brought all the Syrians. He settled them mostly in South Florida. A gang of them in Mississippi. We all fought it. In fact, about it, Americans were put on the street. We had to live in our cars. Wouldn't nobody rent to Americans. They was trying to hold their place and get them all fixed up because the government paid so much money for the immigrants. They could get a big lump sum. So we riding around in our cars. And I know, because I was right out there with the other Americans. And it didn't have nothing to do with your color. It was more white women, old white women out there on the street living their car, because they couldn't get a place to stay in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Now, I didn't go to Miami, but I can tell you about Florida. So all of you people that are trying to help the DACA situation, well, you're not helping yourself and them either, because they're supposed to be wards of the state. They have nothing to do with the United States other than what they made up, which I say we're going to do that a little bit later on. But right now, I'm just trying to give you a little background on immigration and what it's doing to America. Because you remember we discussed how the court derailed Obama's immigration? When he derailed Obama's immigration, that's all of them. It meant that no other president or Congress could ever do anything. So now we're going to look at a clip of this one of the candidates in Georgia. He's really going after him. He is having a little rough time, so he went and got a bus. You should see it. It's a deportation bus. So we're going to run that clip on BGN. Don't forget now, hit that subscribe button. Watch this little clip.
Spotted on Interstate 85 in Georgia, a vehicle that a candidate for governor calls his deportation bus.
We're not just going to track them and watch them roam around our state. We're going to put them on this bus and send them home.
Republican State Senator Michael Williams trailing in GOP primary polling with a bus that says danger, murderers, rapists, kidnappers, child molesters, and other criminals on board. Echoing these words.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Are you putting people on the deportation bus?
No, we're not putting people on.
Are you trying to find people to deport?
No.
So
no.
why are you doing that?
Again, this is to bring awareness to the issue of illegal immigration in our state and in our country.
But is it a mean-spirited gimmick to have a bus that says deportation?
No,
and
what is
murderers and rapists are on this bus?
What is mean about holding people accountable for breaking the law? When did that become mean to hold somebody accountable?
Do you think all illegal immigrants are murderers and rapists?
That's not what we're saying. That's not what the bus says.
What does the bus say?
The bus says that it has kidnappers, illegal aliens on there, and that's who we're going to go after, those that are in our country illegally and breaking yet another law.
So is this a gimmick, though?
Absolutely not.
The candidate and his staff take the bus and an RV to Georgia's cities that have many immigrants.
No hate, no fear. Immigrants
and get a mostly negative reaction from people who have gathered waiting for the bus. But Michael Williams isn't the only candidate running for Georgia governor who is going to extremes.
And two things if you're going to date one of my daughters.
Respect.
And?
A healthy appreciation for the Second Amendment, sir.
We're going to get along just fine.
Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp is also running and also talks about hauling away immigrants.
I got a big truck just in case I need to round up criminal illegals and take them home myself. Yep, I just said that.
One has a big truck, another a big bus.
You're a Sunday school teacher?
I am.
Does this violate the tenets of your religious and moral life not to be kind to your fellow human being?
Again, what I am doing is being kind to the citizens of this country. The citizens that have built this country and have something that the world covets and wants. We have to protect that.
And before the deportation bus drives away for the day, someone places this on the front of it. Words from the poem on the pedestal of the Statue of Liberty. Gary Tuckman, CNN, Decatur, Georgia.
Great. It's good to have you back here at VGN. We try to put these shows together for you, so you get a better insight on what's going on. A couple of more words, though, on immigration. People, listen. The caravan is not immigration. They are a band of land pirates. It's the same as if, you're on the sea and you're in your ship and another ship come up to yours and they say, we're going to board you. They're pirates. They're flying their death flags and all that. You saw all of that with the caravan. You saw it all. So don't feel sorry for them. They've been doing this for several years with the help of Obama and with the help of Bush. Bush, I think they had at least one caravan while he was there, and I haven't heard tell of him, stopping it. We didn't even find out about it until Donald Trump got in. We didn't know what the heck was going on when they were sending troops to the. Since Trump been in there, we getting smart as I don't know what. We finding out some stuff. So don't feel sorry for them. That caravan, they wasn't supposed to let them in at all because they were giving information. I called all of them. Jeff Sessions them, and I told them, you can't do asylum and you can't do amnesty for them because it's not in the Constitution. They did it anyway. They said about 128 of them got in under asylum. If they were going to get in under asylum, it couldn't be through the federal government because they're citizens of a foreign state. They have to come in under state like the Red Cross and stuff. Oh no, they insisted they was going to do it wrong. And then the word amnesty. The word amnesty, it just simply means that you have been convicted of a crime and the governor can come and pardon you out of there. But those people in the caravan have not been convicted of a crime. They're just just invading our borders like the pirates that they are. And it's like they're a virus that's eating away at the insides of America. It's just absolutely horrible. But the worst thing is the bad shape that they put the black community in with this job situation. Well, thank goodness Donald Trump, they tell me he's been doing a very good job on that. I don't have time to follow the job stuff because I got to follow the stuff that cause you not to have the job. And that's all of these immigrants. And believe me, even the ones who think they're citizens, if they got their citizenship after 1965 under the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act, it's no good. It's comprehensive, and there's no such thing as their children get birthrights if they're not naturalized. The Constitution clearly says in Amendment 14, you got to be born or naturalized and already under the jurisdiction of the United States. So we're already under it because we was unfortunate enough to have American citizens for parents, so we're already under jurisdiction. Now, if our parents weren't under jurisdiction when we were born, then they would have to be naturalized. And then that would put them under jurisdiction so we can have birthrights. If our parents just walked across the border and just dropped us on the floor, we don't get nothing. But under the 1965 Immigration Act, they've been making them citizens. So that's something else we're going to have to deal with later on. And the final thing I'm going to say about this is this immigration mess. It's been some of the cause of all the school violence. A lot of it has been that, and that's because Americans' values are not taught. No. All the way up to college. You guys saw that lady from Iran weighed about 360 pounds sitting up there flashing the birdie because when Barbara Bush died. And you saw the girl who I brought to the show, she said her Iranian mom is the one teaching young kids, and they're teaching the kids all kinds of subversive stuff in the schools. So that's a part of it. And the worst part of it is, what's a big help to the United Nations is the rappers. All this rap talk they do, about be violent to people, do this to them, blow them away with their chest, and the word nigger. If I hear that again, they made billions of dollars on that word, and that teaches the children. If the white kids hear it too, and they want to say it too, but if they say it, then they're held to be wrong, And so this is where a lot of this stuff is coming from. And I can't tell you, I'm ashamed. Just like I told them drug-selling women back in the late 60s and the 70s, Beyonce, I ain't got no control over Rihanna and Minaj because they're foreigners. I'm just going to try to throw them out the country forever, get them banned from America because what they teach. And Cardi B, I'm not sure. I think she's a foreigner as well. And Miley Cyrus needs to be ashamed herself. She going to get up there and try to be worse than them, putting all that filthy stuff out there in the schools, because that's all they teach in schools is filth. And they teach them that we're supposed to roll over and let all of these immigrants come in and take our stuff from so they feel like they don't really have anything to fight for. So they just fight each other with those cell phones and the cyber phone. I want the cyber phones banned. Nobody under 21. Because you don't know how to act. They get together and be messing around, and even if they can't bring it to school, they get on the schoolyard and just put up all kinds of mess. Next thing you know, you got mass shootings and all that. But like I say, and Drake, what's that? Chris Brown, Jay-Z, all of them. They are part of the darn problem, and I have already told Congress, you need to call them in and say, okay, can't you guys change this? I mean, it should be rated. It should be XXX. Do you hear some of the stuff they be telling them kids? And be turning around to the camera, showing their naked behind to the children, and you think that they're gonna be good kids after hearing all that filth and watching that? That's got a whole lot to do with it. And the immigration situation is what is a part of the causing of it. So that's what I got to say about it today. I told you those people coming in the caravan are pirates. The rest of them are invaders. So now what we're going to do, I do believe, do we have a clip on them or We're going to check and see if they have a clip. If not, we're going straight to the UN. My producer just said that I have a clip. And wow, this is a clip from Austria. So you guys, you be thinking that it's just America, but the United Nations, I got a clip I'm going to show you of what they're doing all overseas. Every country, all the beautiful countries that we used to read about in school and everything, every one of them is under siege. They're under the siege of the United Nations, just like America is. So why don't you watch the clip now? And just wait till you see the new mayor of Austria. He good looking. He's a young guy. He said, I'm not having it. He tired. They gonna get together. What I want to happen, I want every one of the nations that's under siege by the UN, I want to get America together. We get together with all them like we had to do in World War II when we had to go and save Europe from Hitler. We got to go back to Europe and save them from the United Nations. I'll tell you how it's going to be done. Watch this clip on VGN and don't forget to subscribe.
Seven mosques in Austria will be shuttered and up to 40 imams expelled. It's part of what the country's right-wing government calls just the beginning of a push against Islamic ideology and the foreign funding of religious groups. Austria's coalition government of conservatives and the far right came to power promising to clamp down on migration and benefits for refugees. Chancellor Sebastian Kurz already oversaw a tough new law on Islam in 2015 in his previous job as Minister of Integration. That banned foreign funding of religious groups and created a duty for Muslim societies to have a, quote, positive fundamental view towards Austria's state. The country counts roughly 600,000 Muslims, many of Turkish origin. One of the Vienna mosques to be shut down for operating illegally is influenced by the Grey Wolves, a Turkish nationalist youth group. A Turkish presidential spokesman tweeted that the decision was a reflection of the Islamophobic, racist and discriminatory wave in Austria.
Austria's right-wing government has announced it will shut down 7 mosques and expel up to 40 imams. One of the mosques is influenced by the Grey Wolves, a Turkish nationalist youth group. Chancellor Sebastian Kurz says it's just the beginning of a push against Islamist ideology and the foreign funding of religious groups. The coalition government came to power soon after Europe's migration crisis, partly by promising to prevent another influx and to clamp down on benefits for new immigrants and refugees.
Sie wissen, dass Österreich ein Land der Vielfalt ist. Schönen guten Morgen, sehr geehrte Damen und Herren. Herzlich willkommen zur heutigen Pressekonferenz und danke. Parallelgesellschaften, der politische Islam und Radikalisierungstendenzen, die haben in unserem Land keinen Platz. Wir dürfen Ihnen heute bekannt geben, dass es eine Entscheidung des Kultusamtes gibt, die dazu führen wird, dass in 7 Moscheen der Betrieb untersagt wird. Es bedeutet die Auflösung der Moschee der Grauen Wölfe und zum Zweiten die Auflösung der arabischen Kultusgemeinde, die insgesamt 6 Moscheen betreibt.
The Austrian government is set to meet with Albanian ministers in a bid to curb the number of migrants using the so-called Balkan refugee route to reach Western Europe.
Wir arbeiten mit der Regierung in Albanien, aber auch mit den
We are working together with Albania and other states as a route so that the migration of people to Central Europe will not happen.
der Menschen nach Mitteleuropa nicht stattfindet.
Chancellor Sebastian Kurz wants assurances from his Albanian counterparts that migrants will be stopped, otherwise he plans to close Austria's borders. Kurz also believes EU border patrol guards should be sent to North Africa as part of a crackdown on immigration.
Kurz has long advocated a toughening of approach, but forming a coalition with the far-right anti-Islam Freedom Party last December seems to have been the catalyst for him to act. In April, his government announced plans to prevent girls in nurseries and primary schools from wearing headscarves.
We have a new climate, a political climate here in Austria since the last election.
And that's what will interest far-right movements across Europe, but particularly in France, the Netherlands and here in Berlin, where the Alternative for Germany party made a parliamentary breakthrough in last year's election on a platform of opposition to Islam. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera, Berlin.
The fundamental rule we'll introduce is that German will become the key to accessing the full minimum benefit. That means that whoever has insufficient language skills will not be able to claim the full minimum benefit. Migrants will also be barred from claiming such benefits for 5 years, a move that goes against EU rules that all member state citizens be treated equally. The Austrian People's Party won last year's parliamentary election with a hard line on immigration, pledging not to allow a repeat of the 2015 migration crisis.
What did I tell you? What did I tell you? That's all over Europe. You see, here's what happened. They listened to the United Nations. And United Nations, see what they wanted to do and what they've been trying to do for years, since way before most of you guys were born. They've been trying to establish the New World Order, which we used to always say they'll never do it. In order to do the New World Order, you have to open borders. That's how all these people are in our country. Oh, they were bad. I got to admit it, the United Nations got with the Communists and the Democrat Party, not the new Democrats, they just following suits, but the old school like Tip O'Neill, President Johnson, all of them. I'm not going to sit here and try to name them, but those were the top two. They were the ones who started all this diversity and national order. They started all that mess. It's not in the Constitution in order to be able to get them over here, and then we couldn't say nothing. So next thing we knew, I already told you about it. They started bringing them without a ratification of the Constitution that would let the United States take control. The Supreme Court, we'll get to them later, they let all this happen, but it's the United Nations plan. They had to get the borders open in order to start the New World Order. What the New World Order does, it lets anybody from any country walk into America under the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act of 1965, and 6 months later you got a Cadillac. That's what it does. It puts America out, and they get these big old huge $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 checks to start. They put them in all of the best neighborhoods. Down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, you should see what all they built. All the beautiful condos and high-rises, and they're for the Syrians and them such immigrants. I don't even see no black people. Frankly, I didn't see no white people going in either. You know, because I told you what they did to us in Fort Lauderdale. We were in cars sleeping, you know, because they were holding stuff for Obama's thousands of Syrians that was coming in. And so that's one of the problems that we got from the UN. And then when you look at California, it looks like what the UN has done is actually regressive. You know, I wouldn't mind a New World Order if it was going to take care of everyone, everyone had enough food to eat, everyone had a decent place to stay, what would be the problem? But under the New World Order that the United Nations set up, the Americans are the ones who don't get anything. Look at Orange County, California, Los Angeles, California, San Diego, all of the beautiful southern parts of California that once brought multi-billionaires just to see the streets. You can't see the streets now. They're all full of refugee Americans living in tent cities. You need to Google Los Angeles, California, tent cities in Orange County, California. Hundreds of them. It looks like we're regressing. When the white man came here from Europe, that's the way the Indians were living, in tents and teepees. They didn't have no lights, no water. They didn't have nothing. The same thing happening to the people out in California. The bad part about it is a lot of the ones that's living in the tents, see, the black people can't even afford one, so they outdoors. The whites were able to get them some kind of little piece of tent, you know, and the bad part about it is they're educated. A lot of them are scientists, computer, such and such. They can't get a job. They give all those jobs to as many foreigners as they can, even though those foreigners' parents didn't invent anything. Everything, as I've told y'all before, was invented right here in the United States by the black inventors and the white ones. And the white people, I can give them more credit because they had the money to make it work. And now their children sleeping in some darn tents because that's where the United Nations put them. The United Nations is the one who run all this drug stuff. They running everything. The opioids. That's how they get them through here. You scared to say something at the border. One for Donald Trump, ain't no telling what would be happening. And you know they can't stand him. So start thinking. Put on your thinking cap. This was not done under the Constitution. The United Nations overthrew the Constitution, just threw it off the cliff and threw a train on it, and they took over American government. I know you see Congress, they don't mean a thing. Congress is being ran by the United Nations. Even though the Republicans have the lead, they don't know any better. They went to the same schools you went to, where they were taught billions of words of lies. They don't know how to stop this. I do. They don't know how to just stop it. And it can be done, and it will be done. Not going to say it's going to be the day or tomorrow, but it can be done, and it will happen. So now I got to give you the purpose of this. The purpose of the United Nations, they needed to get as much of the manufacturing jobs out of America as possible. That's why they sent all the drug lords from all over the world. French Connection, Iran Contra, Noriega and them, and the Mexicans and all them, they sent them here to destroy America with the drugs, and they just carried everything they could up out of here. That's what they did, and you know that's not a lie. That's what Donald Trump is trying to get it back now. You just may not have been aware of who did this. This is all being run by the United Nations. Tell you that right now. Until we get rid of the United Nations, I want the United Nations off of the American shores. I want them up out of here. And here's what it is. You see, the United Nations is made up of hundreds of little, I can't say the word that Donald Trump said, hundreds of crap hole countries. So they have the majority. The crap hole countries have the majority lead. So when the good countries like United States and Switzerland and all of us be trying to say something nice, we get overrode by the vote. They outvote us. So we got to get out of the United Nations. We got to stop letting hundreds of crap hole countries run America. They think we're a joke. That's why we got Donald Trump, to let them know we ain't no joke. We tired. We want our jobs back here in America. We want our plants back here in America. And don't forget, it's the United Nations who caused all this stuff to happen. That's why they got to help be responsible for returning $10 trillion, at least that much of settlement with the citizens of the United States, because they're the ones who caused the U.S. Immigration Nationality Act to be out there in the first place. They did it with the commies and the Democrat Party, and they holding their hands in the background, and y'all don't know what the heck's going on. But I've been watching them all these years. The United Nations, what they call them, RICO, racketeer, organized, whatever it is, they just a bunch of darn worldwide criminal racketeers. They are a worldwide criminal organization that preys on, first they was just preying on small nations, but now that they think they got the United States down, they started the European Union. I don't know how they did it, but I'm going to find out. When I heard about it, I said, what do you mean some European Union? Because all those nations were free nations. And then they joined that European Union. I don't know how they forced them to do it. The next thing you know, every one of those nations is almost a slum. London, England, slum. Parts of Switzerland, Germany, slums. Women getting raped up by the Muslims. And you notice one thing they don't do? They don't mess with Russia. They went to Russia. Russia beat somebody behind as soon as they got there. They have not been to China. They have not been to Japan, Korea, none of the dark nations. They're making this attack against the rich white nations in order to bring them all down. But if you do that, then everybody gonna be poor. The whole world gonna be a slum. And that's what they're working on getting done here in America. They think they already got America down, especially with California and all this exit. And I can understand why they're doing that, because they don't understand that the Constitution lets you stop it. They don't know how. And right now, I don't feel like telling them because it's not really the time yet. But when that time comes, all this stuff is going to be stopped, and their citizenship is going to be invalidated, and their children's birth certificate, they're not really citizens. I get sick of that. They even got the poor president. When he first came out, he was talking about the anchor babies. Oh, they stopped him. They tell him at such and such and say that when they come across the border and have a baby, this baby is citizen. Now I hear him saying that dumb stuff. But don't you worry, he's going to find out. He's going to find out. So this is all done by the United Nations, a worldwide criminal organization that's made up of hundreds of crap-hole countries that's got a higher voting power than the good nations. We will never win. So what we're going to have to do, we are going to have to pull a World War II thing. America is going to have to go to Europe again and free all of those nations and run everybody out of there that don't belong there. We had to do it before, and we will do it again. So that's what I got to say about the United Nations here on BGN. You need to push that subscribe button, because there's going to be a whole lot of stuff. Eventually, sooner or later, you're going to hear some talk about the money that they owe America. They can't just take your tax dollars. Y'all don't know no better. Y'all probably about to say, oh, ain't gonna. I guess they won't if you sit up there and let them get away with it. But fortunately, Christine Timmon, I've been on their trail. Like that's a song, but I've been on your trail. I've been on their trail ever since they started doing this. And I told them one of these days, and the day is here, when I can do what I want to do. All the things that they've done, I can address them and fix it so Congress will get some kind of sense. Like the little boy in Debbie Stabenow's office was telling me when I told him that the United States didn't have any constitutional power to sponsor these people. He gonna tell me about what a law somebody wrote. I said, I'm glad you told me, because they can't do that. It's not, well, blah, 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 blah. I said, son, it's not in the Constitution. Read Amendment 14, Section 3, and Article 6, Clause 2. I didn't tell him what's supposed to happen. In Article 3, Section 3, is supposed to be shot. Back in the day, they would have been shot, hung. If they do, wouldn't no federal judge or no senator or stuff do stuff? Y'all better start Googling American history in the 1700s. You do something like what they doing now, be big trouble. So let's move on now to how it happened. Yeah, we know the United Nations involved. I told you. I think I got about 10 minutes left here to tell you. Now, it was really the United States Supreme Court who did it. If it wasn't for the United States Supreme Court, the UN, the Worldwide Criminal United Nations Gang, could not have done it. Remember that name. The new name for them, the UN, is the Worldwide Criminal United Nations. We're not in there. We're not criminals. That's why we're getting out of the UN, because it's a worldwide criminal organization. The United Nations. That's what it is, and we're going to find some kind of way to get out of that criminal activity they're doing. Look at what they're doing to them people overseas. I'm very distraught about this, but it is the Supreme Court. Here's what happened. When they first tried to switch the immigration authority to the federal government, it didn't work. So when you go by the Constitution, you got to get a 3/4 ratification from the states, because for hundreds of years, and you guys know I got that book from way back in 1667. I don't think I have it today, but it told you, no, I didn't bring it today, it's kind of heavy. I'll bring it next time so we can read it. It told you that settling and slavery and indentured serving, all that mess, was done at the State House in Williamsburg, Virginia, and Jamestown. And when they wrote the Constitution, that's the way they wrote it. The state is in charge of them people at the beginning. Then they have to get their passport. The only way you could get a passport, you had to have a little registration slip from the state to get that passport, to go to that state. So they didn't want to do that. So they didn't ratify it. So you say, well, then what happened? The Supreme Court, that's what happened. They told them to do it anyway. And you can remember, we'd be reading it in the cases. We'd be reading it. When the Supreme Court told them, you can use Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4. Well, you can't do that, because that's not what it says. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4 says Congress shall have the power to establish uniform naturalizing. It said uniform. That means everybody got to speak English. Everybody got to be treated equally on the level of who they are and what they're about. Okay? So it didn't say immigration, and I don't feel like reading it because I'm sick of reading it. I'm just going to tell you what it says. Article 1, Section 9 says, it's 19 words. It says the migration or importation of such persons is what any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit. It says states admit. Here's where Congress came in. In the second clause, it says Congress shall not have the power to prohibit the states until after 1808. So this gave Congress the power to tell you how you can do it. You could only have a certain amount, or they could just stop you, period. But there's nothing written to say that Congress itself or the United States can bring them. Nothing, not a word written like that. The words written won't let them do it. But the Supreme Court said do it anyway. So they combined Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, the naturalizing clause, with Article 1, Section 9. That's the immigration clause that gives it to the state. And when you read Article 1, Section 9, the last words say that the United States can collect a tax or duty for each person that the state imports, not to exceed $10. Well, when you do the cash calibration from 1700 to now, it equals up to around $200 or more. So that means the state would have to pay the United States $200 a piece for everyone that they bring. That's why the states charge money. You couldn't just walk up in there. Somebody had to sponsor you. You had to pay your registration fee, your vetting fee, your work visa fee, because you couldn't get on Social Security and all that stuff until you got naturalized. You wasn't supposed to. Then the next thing we know, they was doing that. They may have already been sneaking and doing that. You know, so I think I got about 3 minutes left here. And
go to the clip.
yeah, so why don't we just go to the clip now? And what this clip is going to be about, what happens when a white man faces the police and the police got a gun. We're going to see what happens when it happens to a white man. So this is BGN now. Subscribe so you can get all this good stuff.
These are cameras, you know they are.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but...
It's a camera. No, well not. No, it's PC-140AG. Unholster your weapon. Don't you unholster your weapon. No, take your hands off your weapon. This is PC-140AG. What's your name and your ID right now? What's your name and what's your ID? What's your name, what's your ID? Unholster your weapon. You better put your weapon... It's a camera, you know it is. It's a GoPro. Put your weapon back in your holster. Get your supervisor here now. It's a friggin' GoPro and you know it is. I'm putting this on video. No, put your weapon back in your holster.
Lower that thing right now.
Dude, you shoot me on camera. My father was chief of police in Louisville, Kentucky. Shoot me, watch what happens.
Lower that right now.
It's a GoPro!
Here, what it is. Lower it.
Great. Now here's what I want you to do. In the comments below, tell me what you think would have happened if there had been a black man. Do you think the police would have sat there and let him run his mouth, telling him, holster your gun? Oh, heck no. And see, the camera he's talking about does look like a gun. So, you know, if it had been a black man, he'd been shot dead. So, just let me know at the bottom if you're not scared. Let me know what you think about that particular clip. And so, like I'm saying to you people, we got to wake up here and recognize what shape we're in. This is our first show on the United Nations. Remember, it's the Worldwide Criminal Organization, UN. They're criminal. The Worldwide Criminal United Nations. They're criminals. You're going to find out more and more as we go along how they use their crap hole authority. They got authority, don't get me wrong, because it's way more of them. So us good countries, they look at how they beating us down. So we're going to have to get together. I want the United States out of it, and I need the United States to go to Europe and free all of those nations so we can be free too. Because we're not going to hardly be free as long as they're holding all the other countries hostage with these Muslims and all that stuff. Oh, we're going to do another Muslim show. Oh, I got so much more to tell you on them until it's not funny. But all this stuff they're doing, I watched one video in London, used to be a beautiful town, where they just run up to people and just drop kick them. Don't even know them. A British citizen holding their flag, ain't even saying nothing to them. And you saw the one about what they do to women. You know, they burn women after they beat them half to death, 200 or 300 women. So the men beat up one woman. So that's going to be our show for today. I certainly enjoyed it, and I'll give you a couple more points. One more on the ban. When the Supreme Court stopped Trump, they were in violation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 clauses of the Constitution did not allow the Supreme Court to stop Trump's ban on the Muslim. And if Senator McCarthy had been alive, he would have arrested every one of those Supreme Justices, and they need to stop that before they get in trouble. Americans ain't so stupid. They're getting smarter and smarter. He didn't have any right at all. And next time we do a show, now that I got you started, we're going to talk about the laws that the Supreme Court been letting go by. They're the ones who let our money get stolen. Without the Supreme Court, they could never have gave away federal tax dollars. They were the ones who set up SSI and all that stuff for foreigners. It was the Supreme Court and the district courts who did it, federal. So that's our show for today, and I am certainly happy you came here, and I'd like to thank BGN once again. They're a great network. They give me the opportunity, to get out here, and I hope you subscribe, because I'm going to always keep it hot. I'm going to always keep it live, because most of the way the pundits talk, they make it sound so dull, and most of the stuff they be saying be a lie. You can't look up in the Constitution and find it nowhere, so I try to make you understand what it means, because you never heard before in your life that the United Nations is a worldwide criminal group. They criminals. Look at the world, what they doing. If they were really great, then it wouldn't be any poverty. The immigrants wouldn't be going to other countries and begging. They would be showing them how to establish and build your own. But for some reason, they are bent on the destruction of the world, and I don't get it. The United Nations, I do not get them. Why are they bent on destruction? And then when I call them the worldwide criminal United Nations, then they get mad. What else you think I'm going to say when all this criminality is going on because of what you've done? Everything being done in the United States is criminal, especially immigrants. It's all criminal. Everything going on in Europe now is criminal. So anyway, I got about 1 minute left. I can't wait to get back. I'm going to have more for you, and we're going to go over the Supreme Court again. We're going to rake them across the coals again. I'm going to find some more mess to tell you how to start them to talking about giving you your money back. You remember the $10 trillion case that's sitting up there, 14-CV-62937, where it's written in there by the judge about the $10 trillion tax refund to be distributed evenly amongst every American citizen whose heritage is before 1965. Before it's over, I'm going to drive that issue home. See you next month. It's your friendly hostess coming from BGN Network, and I'm signing off for today. That's my Trump sign off. Signing off for today.